Today at 1, with counting still underway, Reform UK are the big winners in the English local elections. They say there's been a historic shift in British politics. They've won the most council seats, and leader Nigel Farage says Labour is being wiped out.
It's a big, big day, not just for our party, but for a complete reshaping of British politics in every way.
There's pressure on the Prime Minister after a bad night for Labour. They've lost hundreds of council seats across England, but Keir Starmer vows to fight on.
I'm not going to walk away and plunge the country into chaos. We were elected to deal with these challenges, and that's what we will do.
The Conservatives have suffered heavy losses too, as the Liberal Democrats and Greens continue to pick up seats. Counting has only just begun in Wales, but already the Deputy First Minister has admitted defeat, telling the BBC Labour is not going to form the next Welsh Government. The first results are coming in for the Scottish Parliament election, where the SNP will be hoping to win a fifth term. Also on the programme, a third British national is suspected of having hantavirus linked to the cruise ship at the centre of the outbreak. And Sir David Attenborough celebrates his 100th birthday today. He says he'd hoped to celebrate quietly. Instead, there'll be a huge concert at the Royal Albert Hall.
In the south, the Conservatives lose control of Hampshire County Council. The Lib Dems, though, win back Portsmouth. And Attenborough at 100. We look back on Sir David's time in the south.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the BBC News at 1. The Prime Minister says he's not going to walk away as he takes responsibility for the major losses Labour has seen overnight in England's local election results so far. Meanwhile, Reform UK's leader Nigel Farage has hailed the election as a truly historic shift, as the party benefited at the expense of both Labour and the Conservatives. Let's take a look at those results in England now. More than 5,000 seats across 136 English councils have been contested, as well as 6 mayoral contests. So, as a warning, there are still many counts ongoing, but we can see so far that Reform has had the biggest gain so far on the left there, 454 seats. Labour, though, has seen a huge loss of seats, down 299 to 263 in total. Just a reminder, those larger numbers at the bottom are the total seats. The change that we're looking at are the slightly smaller numbers just above. The Liberal Democrats have gained 32 seats so far. The Greens have gained 43 seats. The Conservatives, though, have lost 199. In Wales, despite no results being declared yet, the Deputy First Minister, Hugh Arranca-Davies, says Labour is not going to form the next Welsh Government, even though counting has only just started for the 96 seats up for grabs in the Senedd, so we'll see that graph filling up throughout the afternoon. There have also been national elections in Scotland, but counting has only just got underway in the last few hours. So you can see there only 2 results have been declared so far. The Scottish Liberal Democrats have held the Orkney Islands and the SNP have held Dundee City West. Later, this graph will give us a good idea of how the parties are faring, and we'll see if the Scottish National Party will be on course to win a 5th term in power there. We'll be getting updates from our colleagues in Scotland and Wales later in the programme. For now, though, let's look at the picture we have so far of the local elections in England. Our political correspondent, Ben Wright, has the latest.
And I do hereby declare that Shaw Graham Paul is duly elected.
Scooping up council seats across the country, Reform UK piled on the gains early on. From here in Staffordshire, where they won control of Newcastle-under-Lyme from the Tories, to Basildon in Essex, it was the candidates with turquoise rosettes who had the most to cheer. For Labour, braced for a very bad night, the losses mounted up. Voters booting out hundreds of Labour councillors from Westminster to Wigan. Redditch to Reading, a bleak picture that Sir Keir Starmer didn't attempt to gloss.
It's a really tough result. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And we have lost brilliant Labour representatives, people who put so much into their communities, so much into our party and our movement. And the voters have sent a message about the pace of change, how they want their lives improved. Labour was elected to meet those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away.
So a vow to dig in and carry on, but a remark that concedes the depth of Labour's problems. While munching into territory once considered Labour's heartlands, Reform UK is also clobbering the Conservatives, from Hampshire to Havering in the east of London, doing best in places that voted strongly for Brexit. And Havering is where Nigel Farage dropped into this morning, a council that Reform UK now controls.
It's a big, big day, not just for our party, but for a complete reshaping of British politics in every way. And it all goes to show that over the course of the last 2 years, since we made that breakthrough in the general election, we have professionalised the party. We've done it at a very, very rapid rate. I'm thrilled and delighted.
In other times, a deeply unpopular Labour government would likely mean a jump in Conservative support. But while the Tories ended Labour control in Wandsworth, southwest London, and regained Westminster, many councillors have been lost, and there is little sign the Conservatives are punching back.
We have just won a flagship council. We've just taken over in Wandsworth. Bexley, where we were told that Reform were going to wipe us out, we have held on. I'm very proud of how we have done. I'm not saying that we're there yet. I'm not saying that the results are perfect. There are loads of councillors, Conservative councillors, who would have lost their seats, but they can see that our strategy is working.
For the Liberal Democrats, consolidating their existing strongholds has been a pattern, making only modest gains elsewhere. The party lost control of Hull, but has taken control of Stockport and Portsmouth, Sir Ed Davies' destination this morning.
Fantastic result here in Portsmouth. The Reform threw everything at it, but we won. We've taken control of this council, and we've shown across the country that it's the Liberal Democrats who can hold off and beat Reform. We took control of Stockport, even though Reform tried there. They tried in Sutton, and we had fantastic results. So we're really, really proud of what we've done in Portsmouth and across the country.
In Hackney, East London, the Green Party won the race to be mayor, and the scale of the party's advance will be measured later today as more London results are announced.
This is a historic victory. This is the first time the Green Party have ever won a directly elected mayor. And two-party politics is not just dying, it is dead and it is buried. And actually, whether it's here that Labour have been rejected or whether we're seeing around the country, it's very clear that the new politics is the Green Party versus Reform.
So far, the results in England show a splintering electoral map, with the two main parties being walloped from all sides. Labour's plight in Wales and Scotland will become clearer later this afternoon when we get the results from the Senedd and Holyrood elections, potentially sparking panic in Labour's ranks about Sir Keir Starmer's leadership and future.
It would be fair to say that, yes, I am concerned for the next general election, not just for me, but for good Labour colleagues in the Parliamentary Labour Party. Yes, of course, because we want to win for Labour at every level.
And is Sir Keir Starmer the right man who can lead Labour into that next general election?
I think we need the full results, but I think there'll be some very tough questions in the next couple of days.
Sir Keir Starmer's insisted he won't walk away, no matter how badly Labour does. But he is currently leading a battered party with no obvious route to recovery. Ben Wright, BBC News, Westminster.
Let's go live to our chief political correspondent, Henry Zeffman, who's at Downing Street for us. Hi, Henry. So, bad night for Labour. What does this mean for the Prime Minister?
It's bad, really bad, Lewis. Not even 2 years after Sir Keir Starmer was swept into this street by a landslide majority, the Labour Party is now losing votes, and lots of them, practically everywhere. There is no sugarcoating that, as the Prime Minister himself said. And the only thing really stopping this being worse in terms of councils and councillors for Labour is that there were some councils where Labour lost lots of councillors but simply couldn't lose more and lose control of the council mathematically because only perhaps half or a third of the council seats were up for grabs. Just because Labour lost council seats to Reform, that doesn't necessarily mean that voters flowed directly from Labour to Reform UK. There will be those who are arguing within the Labour Party that actually they lost to Reform UK because they were losing voters instead directly to the Green Party or other forces. There's going to be a big debate to come in the Labour Party about the sort of flow of votes in different measures in different directions. But the bigger debate that is coming in the Labour Party is about Sir Keir Starmer and his future in the building behind me. Now, I could read you out any number of messages, actually I probably couldn't before the watershed, that are filling up my phone from Labour MPs who are furious, who are disconsolate. But they do not want their names attached to those messages. And that is a really important caveat, because we've had anonymous criticism of Sir Keir Starmer for a year or more now. If it gets to the end of the day, and it is still the case that there's only really a small handful of Labour MPs who have criticised Sir Keir Starmer, and they tend to come from those who are already critics of him, I think the Prime Minister will allow himself a bit of modest relief. But let's see the remainder of the results.
Thank you, Henry. Let's head to Scotland. Counting underway to elect 129 members of the Scottish Parliament. The first couple of results have been declared. Scottish Liberal Democrats held the Orkney Islands there, and one for the SNP too. They've held Dundee City West. Our Scotland correspondent Lorna Gordon joins us now from the count in Glasgow. So, Lorna, the bigger picture will become clearer in the hours ahead.
Yeah, those first two seats to declare are both holds, but I think what you'll start seeing now is that these constituency results will start coming in thick and fast. Here in Glasgow, which is Scotland's biggest count in terms of the size of the potential electorate, I think what we're hearing is that the SNP are staying tight-lipped about their performance. Labour are saying that they are going to have a terrible time here in Scotland's biggest city. The Greens, however, say they are feeling buoyant. The now familiar images of ballot boxes from Scotland's islands transported by sea and by air. Then for this election to Holyrood, secured overnight until the daytime count began. The SNP aiming for victory and a fifth consecutive term in office. An outright majority, not impossible, but unlikely.
John Swinney really has brought the SNP frankly back from the brink. Less than 2 years ago, I was one of a number of SNP colleagues at the Emirates Arena who lost their seat in what was a dreadful night for the SNP. And frankly, as a result of John Swinney's formidable leadership this last couple of years, we've now got to a situation where we are now at the races again in this election.
Reform Scottish leader Malcolm Offord hoping to emulate the party's success in England. Their battle here looking to be with Labour for second place. Before the campaign got underway, Labour's leader in Scotland, Anna Sarwar, called for the Prime Minister to resign, trying to create some distance.
He stands by what he said, but that was in part motivated, and this is Anna's words, to make sure that the focus was on Scotland. The truth is, this has been a hugely challenging time internationally as well as domestically. One of the reasons that I was encouraged in recent days was it was finally a point at which people focused on what's the state of our schools, what's the state of our hospitals, what's the state of our ferries.
The smaller parties are hopeful of gains, but there may be a lower than usual turnout in some areas. If so, it's not clear yet which parties might benefit. It is still early in this count, but it is possible Holyrood could look very different when all the results are finally declared. Well, John Swinney spent much of the SNP's campaign talking up the prospects of an outright victory, of gaining a majority. One senior SNP source, though, has told the BBC that they think a majority in this election is now possible, but improbable. But nonetheless, if the SNP do secure a victory and become a minority government, it is still quite a result, considering they have been in power now for 19 years in Scotland. But it won't be the only story of the night. Look at what happens to the big parties, Labour, the Conservative, what happens to the smaller ones, the Greens and the Liberal Democrats, who hope to make big gains. And then, of course, there is Reform, who've never won a seat before here in Scotland at a Holyrood election.
Thank you, Lorna. To Wales now. We're still waiting for the first results, but the Deputy First Minister has already said Labour won't retain control of the Senedd, ending 27 years as the Welsh Parliament leading it, and more than a century as the country's main party. Well, our Wales correspondent Thomas Morgan is at a count in Cardiff. Thomas, what can you tell us so far?
Well, I can tell you that Labour sources all across Wales are incredibly worried. As you mentioned there, when you think of a Labour heartland, You think of Wales, and it has been for 100 years. In 27 years of devolution, we've always had a Welsh Labour First Minister, but the polls have suggested that might not be the case, and those sources have been telling us across the country it doesn't look likely at all. They are really worried. Even more so, Eluned Morgan, the First Minister, Welsh Labour leader, she, we are being told, is struggling to keep her seat in West Wales. Now, if she were to go, that would be a disaster for Welsh Labour. You would then be in this position where Welsh Labour wouldn't have a leader. They would have to go through a process to get a new leader, but she would have to remain as a First Minister until we vote through a new First Minister. So who are the candidates to replace Welsh Labour? Well, for a while now, it's been neck and neck between Plaid Cymru and Reform in the polls. Both those parties buoyant today, full of confidence, hoping to be the parties with the highest number of seats. The problem is, though, there's a new voting system here, and the prospect of a majority, which we've never had before in Wales after an election, is even more unlikely now because it's a proportional voting system. It's not first past the post. So whoever gets the highest number of seats, they may still have to make some negotiations in forming a government. But whatever happens, a new First Minister of Wales will mark a new political dawn here in Wales with no Labour at the helm potentially.
Thank you, Thomas. So, as we've been reporting, it's been a great night for Reform. They've picked up plenty of council seats across England. However, their successes haven't necessarily translated into winning overall councils. This is largely because the councils that have done the counting so far only had a third of their seats up for election, many of them, meaning there was a natural cap on how many seats any party could win or lose. But let's take a look at where Reform did win overall control. Here, Newcastle under Lyme winning 27 seats. And the story of the scale of Reform's gains is right here, going from 0 seats right up to 27. After that came the declaration that Nigel Farage's party had taken its first London Borough Council. This is Havering, picking up, as you can see, a total of 39 seats. And where did they come from? Not so much Labour here, but you can see they came from the Conservatives, lost 23. And here's a result in Tameside, in Greater Manchester coming. This has been an historic Labour stronghold, party holding the council actually since 1979. They remain the biggest party, as you can see there, in terms of seats, but Reform has helped put an end to Labour control. It's now in no overall control. How did that happen? Well, you can see Reform up 18, and they took most of those seats from Labour, who are down 16, putting the council, as I said, into no overall control. It's worth noting, too, this is also the patch of former Labour Deputy Leader Angela Rayner. Let's get more now with our correspondent, Coletta Smith.
It's business as usual on Friday market day here in Ashton-under-Lyne, but there's plenty of news for people to chew over.
This Labour, no good. Labour's no good. Done, dusted.
It's totally changed. Getting up and seeing that, oh, Reform wins everywhere. I said, hey, it's a big change, you know. Yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
I don't know, a bit weird and scary as well. Yeah, let's hope for the best. Let's see what they're going to do.
A third of the seats were up for election here, and Reform have won 18 out of 19 of them. This is a council that stretches like a spoke from East Manchester right out to the Peak District. Dominated by a skyline of old cotton mills, this is classic Labour heartland. Voters here couldn't have sent a clearer message. It's both disillusionment, disappointment, frustration with the Labour Party, both locally and nationally, as well as being an active choice to vote for Reform, whose policies, particularly around migration, have been striking a much closer chord with voters here. This council covers 3 different parliamentary constituencies, including the home of Angela Rayner, the former deputy leader of the Labour Party. It also includes Gorton, where Labour got a drumming in the recent by-election won by the Green Party. The result is a similar one to Wigan on the other side of Greater Manchester, and talk of Mayor Andy Burnham making moves towards the Labour leadership will have a bigger impact here.
I voted Labour. I've voted it every year since I was allowed to vote.
You voted Labour?
Before.
Until yesterday?
Yeah, we don't like Keir Starmer.
OK.
So I want him, but also And more for the migrants, getting rid of the migrants really, coming over on the boats. So
Not legal ones, illegal.
he seems all right, Andy Burnham. He seems okay. It's just obviously they haven't let him in, have they? Though they're not letting him in, so they don't seem to be doing anything about anything. Storm. He don't seem to be doing anything.
It just don't feel like our country anymore, does it?
Coletta Smith, BBC News in Tameside.
Right, let's take a look at how other parties are performing so far. In a moment, we'll speak to our correspondent Nick Johnson, who's been following the Conservatives campaign in Wandsworth, and our correspondent Jim Reid is in Richmond upon Thames, where the Liberal Democrats have held the council. But first, let's speak to our reporter Tom Edwards, who's in Hackney. And Tom, the Greens have won their first mayoral election there.
Yeah, massive day here for the Greens. For the first time ever, the Greens have got a directly elected mayor, and they've done it here in Hackney, which is Labour's backyard. And it might look a little bit quiet at the moment, but earlier there were jubilant scenes as Green supporters got very emotional, very happy that their candidate, Zoe Garbett, had been elected. We're also joined by the Green leader, Zach Polansky. And if we look at the margin of victory, it is considerable. Zoe Garbett got 35,000 votes, beat the Labour incumbent, Caroline Woodley, who had 26,000. So we think the swing was something around 30%. Remember, as I say there, this was a Labour area. Well, not anymore. Elsewhere, the Greens are feeling confident about the mayoralty down in Lewisham. They've also taken 6 seats over in Reading, and they've trebled the number of councillors down in Southampton. So not a bad day at all for the Greens. Zach Polansky outside, he said two-party politics is dead and buried.
Tom, thank you. Well, let's head to Nick Johnson now, who's in Wandsworth. Nick, what's been the story there?
Well, Lewis, Wandsworth, a very traditional Conservative seat, and that went to the Labour Party, who swept away the borough in the last local elections 4 years ago. Today, though, the Conservatives have managed to fight back here. 29 councillors over Labour's 28. Still no overall control here in Wandsworth, though, despite the Conservatives being the largest party. But it was over the river in neighbouring Westminster a little earlier, where the party leader Kemi Badenoch was. It was Westminster that the Tories regained from Labour, who took it by surprise 4 years ago. And Kemi Badenoch struck a really buoyant, sort of celebratory tone when she was speaking in Westminster. She talked about the Conservative Party fighting back. She talked about a Conservative renewal, and she pointed to council seats such as Bexley in South East London and Fareham in Hampshire, which had been targets for reform, but which she pointed that the Conservatives had managed to hold on to, though. But there's no denying it has been a very difficult night for the Conservatives, a difficult set of results. Perhaps one of the best examples of this, look no further than Essex County Council. That has been held by the Conservatives for the past 25 years. Today, though, Reform there are the largest party. Lewis.
Nick, thank you. The Liberal Democrats have made some gains so far across England. Our correspondent Jim Reid joins us now from Richmond upon Thames, where the Liberal Democrats have held the council. So, Jim, what does this mean for the party?
Hi, Lewis. Yes, the results in this part of southwest London came in about 5 o'clock in the morning, the crack of dawn, all to be elected and sit in this very grand-looking council building behind me. This part of the country, very much a Liberal Democrat stronghold. When you drive through, it's really hard to miss the flags and signs with those big orange logos on. Nevertheless, good results here for the Lib Dems, taking all 54 of the council seats in Richmond, so a clean sweep, taking 5 seats from the Green Party, but take that with a little pinch of salt, because there was an electoral pact in the last set of local elections which kind of complicates the results coming through. In other parts of the country, elsewhere, the Liberal Democrats doing quite well. In Portsmouth, for example, they took control of the council there. The Liberal Democrat leader, Ed Davey, serving hot drinks to members of the public and telling rival parties to wake up and smell the coffee. In Stockport as well, in Greater Manchester, the Liberal Democrats again taking control of that council, moving from no overall control to Lib Dem control. But the party hasn't had it all its own way. In the northeast, in Hull, it lost control of that council, with Reform picking up 10 seats in Hull, so quite a significant loss for the Liberal Democrats. Overall, at the moment then, the party is up just over 30 councillors in England. They are expecting some big results, though, this afternoon when we get those results coming through from areas like Surrey and Sussex. Lewis.
Thank you, Jim. So that's a snapshot of how the major parties have performed so far in England. And of course, just to underline, counting still going on. More results will be coming in. We'll bring you the latest as we get them, of course. Now, though, our political editor, Chris Mason, joins us from Westminster. Hi, Chris. So just talk us through what these results are telling you so far.
Yeah, hello to you, Lewis. We should make the first point this, which is that there is plenty more still to come. We're used to, aren't we, on a general election day after the voting, that by lunchtime we know who's won, we know who the Prime Minister's going to be, the voting's all but finished, and we're kind of into the analysis bit. We can do a bit of analysis, and we will, but the reality is there's still shed loads more to come in England, and then vast amounts to come in Scotland and Wales. But there are some trends emerging already. Clearly, really, really tough time for Labour and a real buoyancy for Reform UK. And then layer on top of that a fragmentation. You can see it with 5, sometimes 6 competitive forces in England, 6 in both Scotland and Wales, where it's very difficult for any party to manage to be truly popular. So yes, in the results that we've had so far, Reform is often head and shoulders above the others in terms of popularity, but in total perhaps managing around about 30% of the vote, with everyone else clustered very close together in the high teens. That means none of them are that popular, and people's affiliations are scattering hither and thither, which makes for a fascinating and complex political picture, but one of intense volatility. And it means winners will cheer and losers will grimace. But the losers will say, well, it's very volatile, so who knows what might happen sort of next time round. And that's the truth of our politics at the moment, how quickly things can change, even when we look at some of those trends that we can spot.
OK, Chris, can you mark our card for us then? We've got results coming in throughout the day today and indeed into the weekend. What are you looking for?
So this afternoon is absolutely key. If there is if you like, a sweet spot of key results in this whole sweep of counting that started not long after 10 o'clock last night, and yes, will finish well into tomorrow, the absolutely crucial couple of hours are the ones between now and tea time, as we look intensively at the picture in Wales. Labour pretty much conceding that they're going to lose in Wales. You know, Labour have won elections in Wales since Sir David Attenborough was a toddler. That's how long their longevity of success has been in Wales. And it's going to end, or at least end for now, today. And that is huge. Who emerges as the winner in Wales? It looks like it'll be a tussle between Plaid Cymru and Reform. And then in Scotland, the prospect of the Scottish National Party winning again, having been in power in Holyrood, in devolved government in Scotland since 2007, when George W. Bush was the President of the United States. So fascinating results wherever you look around Great Britain, and stay here on the BBC for all those results throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, plenty more election news and Attenborough news as well coming up. Chris, thank you. Now, though, a third British national is suspected of having hantavirus linked to the cruise ship at the centre of the outbreak. The patient is now on a remote South Atlantic island. The vessel, the MV Hondius, is due to reach Tenerife in the next few days. 3 people who are on board have died. Our correspondent Alison Freeman reports.
Of the MV Hondius, as health officials announced a third British person who'd been on the cruise was suspected to have hantavirus. The ship is currently on its way from Cape Verde to Tenerife in the Canaries. The Briton suspected to be infected disembarked earlier in the journey on the remote Atlantic island of Tristan da Cunha. So far, 5 people are confirmed to have been infected, including one of the 3 people that have died. On Tenerife, there is a feeling of unease around the ship's arrival on Sunday, despite it being expected to drop anchor off the coast near to the Granadilla port, with passengers ferried to the island. Dock workers are holding a protest and threatening to prevent the cruise ship from approaching.
The workers are really worried because they haven't been given any information at all. They haven't been told about safety measures, whether they're going to have to wear face masks or protective equipment.
On board the cruise ship, though, a sense of relief that they're on the move, with one passenger saying that the vibe on the ship had been calm, but with concern because they were worried about the sick ones. They said that no one on board had any symptoms and they hoped it continued that way. Experts continue to say that the risk to the wider public is low.
Cruise ships are a really interesting place when it comes to transmission. I think we've seen that during the COVID-19 pandemic. We also know this from gastrointestinal viruses like norovirus. So it's just there are people together for a long time in a quite confined space. They meet a lot of times, they eat together. So we know that something that happens on a cruise ship does not necessarily reflect what would happen on land.
The UK Health Security Agency has confirmed that none of the other British citizens on board have symptoms and that they'll be met by UK government staff who are arranging free charter flights back home. Once back, they'll have to self-isolate for 45 days, with officials reiterating the risk to the general public remains very low. Alison Freeman, BBC News.
US President Donald Trump says a ceasefire is still in place between the US and Iran after both sides exchanged fire last night. It was unclear who fired first. The flare-up, which happened in the Strait of Hormuz, comes a day after Iran's foreign ministry had said it was considering a US proposal to end the war. A man has been charged after allegedly threatening Andrew Mountbatten Windsor during an incident near his home on the Sandringham estate. Norfolk police said an arrest was made on Wednesday evening after officers received a report of a man behaving in an intimidating manner towards Mountbatten Windsor. Alex Jenkinson, 39, of Stowmarket in Suffolk, had been remanded in custody and is due to appear at Westminster Magistrates' Court. The chief executive of South East Water has resigned. Several MPs had called for David Hinton to go after 24,000 properties in Kent and Sussex lost water or had low pressure back in November and December. Hinton said he decided to step down but would remain in post to allow an orderly transition over the summer period. Singer Bonnie Tyler remains in an induced coma after emergency intestinal surgery. The 74-year-old from Skewen in Wales had been rushed to a hospital in Faro in Portugal on Wednesday for the procedure and is recuperating. Thousands of fans have been showing their support for the singer on social media. Now, Sir David Attenborough celebrates his 100th birthday today. He said he'd hoped to celebrate quietly, but instead the milestone will be marked with a special concert held later at the Royal Albert Hall and broadcast on BBC One. Our arts and media correspondent David Sillito has been talking to Sir David's friends and colleagues.
And to that, he must fight. A rattlesnake can survive here on only a dozen or so meals in a year, and that's pretty efficient.
Sir David Attenborough, from the BT Tower to Piccadilly Circus, a reminder of a very special birthday. And to help understand why this is such a moment, I spoke to someone...
This one you shot?
...who's been a part of his team for nearly 40 years.
So where are you at the moment in this?
We're both kind of nipple deep in water. And as this chimpanzee went into the water, it stands up and they don't like getting their hands wet, and puts his arms in the air. And then they literally start wading. Yeah.
Suddenly, an image from our remote past comes vividly to light. The time when our distant ancestors, in order to keep up with the changing environment, had to wade and keep their heads above water in order to find food.
Even though he's kind of got his back to the chimpanzee, he's totally aware of that, he's totally aware of the camera eye line, and he nails that piece in one.
That crucial moment when our far distant ancestors took a step away from being apes and a step towards humanity.
Are you saying you couldn't get the chimpanzee to do another take?
We'd run out of bananas by then. Yeah.
When you talk to his friends, if it was his choice, he'd be spending the evening at home, maybe with a glass of wine. However, we're talking about Sir David Attenborough and his 100th birthday. He wasn't going to be allowed to get away with that. And so they've booked the Albert Hall.
For a musical celebration of someone who is truly unique.
David has seen more of the natural world than any human being that's ever lived on our planet. But in that same time, he's seen more change than has ever happened in our planet. And also, one of the things he used to say to me was, I am not the star, the animals are the stars.
Yeah, this is much more recently, so this is...
And this is you again, is it?
Yeah.
And even now, on his 100th birthday.
I mean, he's just got better and better and better through his whole career.
And here it is, the Harvest Mouse. Welcome to your new home. There you go.
David Sillito, BBC News.
Many people will be wishing him a happy birthday today. Now, though, it's time to join our colleagues with the news where you are.
Thank you, Lewis. I'm Sarah Farmer. You're watching South Today. Good afternoon. Results are still coming in this lunchtime from local elections across the south. 17 elections have been taking place across Hampshire, Berkshire, Oxfordshire, Surrey and Sussex. Well, our Hampshire and Isle of Wight political reporter Tiffany Rowlands joins me now to explain what's been unfolding, what's been happening.
Well, Sarah, yeah, it's been a busy morning of vote counting across the south, hasn't it? And as you say, results are still coming in and it's a very mixed picture, actually. Let's start here in Hampshire, where the big news is the Conservatives losing control of Hampshire County Council. Now, this is for the first time in over 30 years, apart from kind of a small window of 4 years in the early 1990s. They've lost over half their seats, but they're still the largest party. Nick Adams-King, whose position as leader is now uncertain, has said this.
And it's now time for us to think about with whom we would want to work. We have a meeting on Saturday morning of our new group. I will be talking to them about their preferences. We'll obviously be listening to all of the other parties in the council.
Well, Reform have been hitting the new kids on the blocks, haven't they, with their headlines. What have they been doing here?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, Sarah? In Southampton, Reform are now the second largest party on the City Council, and it means that Labour have lost overall control. That's in Southampton. Labour will have to build an alliance now with another party or parties if it wants to lead. And actually, news we've just heard in is that in Gosport, Reform have also made gains, and now they're the second largest party on the council there. Over in Fareham, despite their MP Suella Braverman defecting to Reform in January and trying to encourage her constituents to come along with her, it was a Conservative win there, so they hold on to the council. Down the road in Havant, Reform was expected to do well, and they did, picking up 7 seats, but only a third of the council was up for election this time. The party was pretty pleased with those results. Here's Councillor Sharon Collins from Reform.
This has been absolutely phenomenal. The polling was looking fantastic anyway. We've already won 6 out of the 7 council seats. That is incredible. I think that's testament to all of the hard work that I've supported our residents with across the borough. They know that I will back them up, I will support them and not back down.
Well, when it comes to the Lib Dems, they've had a pretty good night here in the south. I'd say probably a better night than they've had nationally. They held Eastleigh, and in Portsmouth, they gained control of the City Council for the first time since 2012. Steve Pitt, leader of Portsmouth City Council, says the vote was a sign of confidence in how they've been running local services.
I think when we came into tonight, I was very confident that we would still be running the City Council on the other side of it. But to get overall control is obviously a massive thing for us. So it's an even better result than I was expecting. But it's also a great result for Portsmouth because it means they've got an even bigger team of hard-working Lib Dems fighting for them every single day.
Well, up in Oxford, the Greens picked up a handful of seats, but no one party has enough for a majority.
And Labour have had, nationally, they've had significant losses. How are they doing here?
Well, that's a good question. As I mentioned earlier, Labour lost control of the council of Southampton, but in Reading, they did well and held the council, despite rumours that Reform were going to come in and make huge gains. Here's leader of the council, Liz Terry.
We've retained our majority here in Reading in what's been,
I'm sure it's a difficult night for Labour, but I think that says a lot about our diverse town and the way in which we, are friendly, welcoming, and everybody, cares about each other. We need to just get on with the job now.
So, Sarah, a mixed bag of results there. We're still waiting for more to come in from places like the Isle of Wight, Surrey and Sussex, but a day full of excitement to come.
Indeed. Thank you, Tiff. And you can find out the results where you are by checking out the BBC's election results tracker on the election page and the news app as well. And on Saturday at 6:30, we'll have all the detail for you. Other news now, and a Sussex NHS trust is enhancing security measures after nearly 2,000 incidents of abuse against staff were reported in the last year. University Hospitals Sussex said it needed to strengthen support after introducing body-worn cameras and knife amnesty bins. More than 40 dangerous items have been handed in at one hospital. To football, and Southampton have been accused of spying on Middlesbrough ahead of tomorrow's Championship playoffs. Saints performance analyst was allegedly caught recording Borough training yesterday morning. The governing body, the EFL, is investigating. Southampton are yet to comment. On the pitch, Saints are targeting a second Wembley appearance and a place in the Premier League next season. But first, a tricky tie at the Riverside tomorrow before they bring Middlesbrough back to St Mary's in the second leg on Tuesday.
They've been up the top of the Championship pretty much the whole year, so you know that they've got a lot of quality and they're a really good team and someone that we know likes to play football and play out from the back, and it's a really tough opponent, so it's going to be a tough game. But like I said, we've been preparing for it and we feel like we're in a really good place, so it should be a good match.
Now, Sir David Attenborough is 100 years old today, and during his decades-long career, he's been drawn to the south on many occasions, not least for an incredibly rare fossil find on the Jurassic coast. Simon Marks reports.
In 1979, the series Life on Earth set a new standard for natural history documentaries. Creatures which had rarely or never been filmed were presented on our television screens, introduced by that distinctive narrator's voice.
There are some 4 million different kinds of animals and plants in the world. This is the story of how a few of them came to be as they are.
Later that year, David Attenborough attended the University of Sussex, where the Chancellor, who happened to be David's brother, Richard, presented him with an honorary degree in recognition of the series. In 1985, he was back in the south, visiting Brownsea Island and lending his support to a campaign to save woodland.
The thought that there might not be an oak woodland to walk into, the thought that there might not be a bluebell wood for my children to see is too awful.
Education has always been central to his work, and in 2006, now Sir David, he paid a visit to a school garden in Romsey.
We've got all these tiny little bits of larvae and pond divers too.
You'll get dragonflies.
Yeah, we've had quite a few buzzing around on Fridays.
Why do you think they're come here? Why did they come?
To lay their larvae.
By this time, Sir David was eligible for his state pension, but showed no sign of slowing down. In fact, his biggest projects in the south were yet to come.
Here in Dorset, on the south coast of England, one of the most important geological sites in the world, the Jurassic Coast.
In 2018, Sir David received a call from his longtime friend and fellow fossil hunter, Chris Moore. In the Dorset Cliffs, Chris had discovered an ichthyosaur. The extraction of the fossil was filmed by the BBC and became the documentary Attenborough and the Sea Dragon.
Wow. For Chris, this has been a labour of love, and it's filled in another gap in the paleontological jigsaw.
6 years later, Chris found an even bigger fossil, a pliosaur, and Sir David, now aged 97, came back to Dorset.
He'd love to get stuck in. He'd have abseiled over the cliff if they'd let him.
The pliosaur skull can now be seen at the Etches collection in Kimmeridge.
A story that all started on a Dorset beach.
Very happy birthday, Sir David. Right, let's find out what the weather forecast has in store with Alexis.
Thank you, Sarah. Fairly mixed picture in the weather for the next few days and into next week. Temperatures reaching just above the seasonal average as we start the weekend, but dropping back down as we head into next week. This picture of the sunny spells and the ferry in Lymington was photographed earlier on today by one of our weather watchers. So through this afternoon, southernmost areas will see increasing amounts of sunshine. There will be large areas of cloud elsewhere with some showers. We've already seen some showers for North Hampshire and into Berkshire. Berkshire. Sunny spells in between those showers as well. There could be the odd rumble of thunder with any showers for western areas. Showers skirt their way northward slowly this afternoon, and for southern areas with the sea breeze, that's where we'll see most of the sunshine. Temperatures peaking at around 18 to 19 Celsius. A quiet night to come tonight. The showers will clear away. The skies will clear as well. And temperatures will drop away to around 5 or 6 Celsius out in the countryside. So it's a dry and a sunny start to the day tomorrow. Plenty of sunshine initially, but as the day progresses, we'll see cloud increasing from this cold front moving southwards and an occluded front moving in from the southwest. So we could see some patchy rain or drizzle during the course of the afternoon tomorrow with that increasing cloud, and the odd shower it could be dotted about here and there. Not a lot of rain to talk of in the forecast through the weekend, but Sunday we could see some patchy rain in places, particularly through the morning. Temperatures dip down come Monday, where there will be large areas of cloud, but also some sunny spells developing. Mainly a cloudy day on Tuesday and remaining unsettled as we head through next week. Sarah.
Thank you, Alexis. Don't forget to check out South Today at 6:30 with Anjana Gadgil for all your election results. Bye-bye.
Next, we're going to get an update on our main story this hour. Of course, election results are still coming in. We're going to focus on England. Since we've been on air, they've been coming in and changing. It's been a bruising night for Labour, losing seats to Reform in former heartlands, as well as to other main parties elsewhere. So let's take a look at the numbers as they stand right now. We can see Reform currently topping this table of results right now, 520 seats gained. So the numbers down the right-hand side are the gains and losses of each party. See, the Greens and the Lib Dems will be happy, 27 and 57 seats up. But the big losses coming for the Conservatives and those huge losses for the Labour Party there, 359 seats have been lost. Now, one of the largest council elections in England is in Birmingham, where all 101 seats are up for grabs. Currently held by Labour, but Reform and the Greens are hoping to make gains following the impact of an ongoing bin strike, which has caused disruption. Elizabeth Glinker is at account in Birmingham. Hi, Elizabeth. Just talk us through how important this is for all the parties there.
Yeah, this is huge. This is the largest local authority, the largest unitary authority in the United Kingdom. It covers a city of 1.2 million people, and there are 101 councillors here responsible for the services delivered to those people. It's been held by Labour for the last 14 years, but they know they are in for a very difficult day. We've started to have some results trickle in at the moment, and I can tell you that Reform UK, for the very first time, have taken a seat here in Birmingham to some cheers and great happiness amongst their activists. Since then, they've taken another 2. That means they've taken 3 from the ruling Labour group, which is pretty significant here in this city. And we've also seen gains for the Green Party as well, both of those seats being taken from the ruling Labour group. Now, I think what we need to watch as the day goes on is whether Reform UK are also able to take seats from the Conservatives. The Conservatives very well established, particularly in the north of this city around Sutton Coldfield. So if Reform UK are able to draw in success there as well, that means they are on for a very good day. However, at the moment, the picture's looking very unclear, and we don't know who will end up in control of this council.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's go to Scotland now. Counting underway for 129 members of the Scottish Parliament. As we came on air, just a couple of results were coming into us. And you can see there's still not a great deal, but the SNP on 5 and the Liberal Democrats on 1 so far. And we can cross now live to our Scotland correspondent, Lorna Gordon, who's at the count in Glasgow. Lorna, still a long way to go there.
There really is. There's 129 seats at the Scottish Parliament in total. More than half of them are constituency seats. They are first past the post, winner takes all seats. The rest are regional lists where you tend to vote for a party, not an individual. It's a very complicated counting system here in Scotland. But as you say, some of the results now coming in. The SNP also adding Dundee East to their small number so so far, and Shetland. They took that from the Liberal Democrats. John Swinney, the leader of the SNP, is at the count in Perth. He will be very pleased with the results so far. He, of course, campaigned saying that if the SNP won an outright majority, he would be calling for a second independence referendum. That feels improbable, but not impossible. We've also been hearing from a senior figure in Reform. Thomas Kerr has arrived here at the Glasgow count in the last few minutes. He said he was feeling very buoyant. He didn't want to put a figure on it, but he said Reform had promised a result that would shock in Scotland, and they believe that is what they will be delivering. I mean, look in particular perhaps at the seat up in the one of the seats up in the northeast of Scotland, where they have been feeling relatively confident that they could win the constituency there. We're also expecting Anna Sarwar, the leader of Scottish Labour, here in the next few minutes. He, of course, called for the Prime Minister to go. Depending on how Labour do in this Scottish election, the question might be, will it be Anna Sarwar who is resigning?
Thank you, Lorna. To Wales, first results still yet to be declared, but Deputy First Minister has already said Labour won't retain control of the Senedd. And we're hearing reports that the Welsh First Minister, Eluned Morgan, could lose her seat. Well, our Wales correspondent, Thomas Morgan, is at the count in Cardiff. Thomas, what can you tell us here?
Yeah, we've had multiple sorts now, and really it seems like a given. Labour openly admitting that it looks like the First Minister, Welsh Labour leader Eluned Morgan, is going to lose her seat. That would be absolutely extraordinary. They're also admitting, Labour, that they're on course to win only 10 seats. Now, the Senedd have actually extended from 60 seats to 96. They had 30 in the last election. To go down to 10 is quite astonishing, really. It just shows the shift away from Labour in Wales. To lose the First Minister, to lose the Welsh Labour leader, and to go down to 10 seats is extraordinary in itself. Where will they go? Who is going to come out on top? Is it going to be Reform, or is it going to be Plaid Cymru? Interestingly, we have heard from a former Plaid Cymru leader. He was not as bullish as possibly expected about Plaid Cymru, more bullish about the bloc on the left side and the number of votes that left-leaning parties might be getting overall, seeming to think that as a bloc they would win enough, but interestingly not categorically saying that his party, Plaid Cymru, would potentially win enough to form a minority on their own, or maybe get as many as expected. So it'll be really interesting to see who wins there. Now, we were expecting imminently to hear from a result from our first count from Blaenau Gwent, Caerphilly, Rhymney. We've just heard that's now going to a recount, and that is not unexpected at all, really, because of the new voting system. It did mean that recounts were going to be likely, and the first one has gone straight to a recount.
Thomas, thank you. Well, the English local elections have widely been seen as a test for Keir Starmer. Despite early results showing major Labour losses and Reform gains, he says he's not going to walk away and plunge the country into chaos. Well, our political editor, Chris Mason, is with us now in Westminster. Give us an overall idea of what's happening and just what all this will mean for the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, here.
You get a sense, Lewis, just from your conversation there about the picture in Wales, at how cataclysmic it looks for Labour there. And you wonder how that plays into the psychology of the Labour Party, the Labour movement, as they dissect in the coming hours and days the magnitude of that expected defeat. Layer on top of that the picture that we can see around England and an emerging picture in Scotland, and loads of soul searching for people within the Labour Party, I think including within Downing Street, about how they frankly try and get more popular quickly. Now, as far as the reaction so far that I've been picking up and colleagues have been picking up, speaking to Labour folk both publicly and privately, yes, there is that soul searching, yes, there's a keen awareness of how dire it has been, but it hasn't yet gone volcanic in terms of a fresh set of folk who weren't previously grumpy, sounding grumpy and suggesting that the result of that should be that the Prime Minister goes. Yes, it is a live conversation. Plenty think that it would be wildly stupid, frankly, for the Prime Minister to lead Labour into the next general election. But that isn't the same as something happening in the very short term that imperils his prime ministerial career in that short term. So we watch, we'll keep an eye on things. Let's see how things go over the weekend. Even 24 hours ahead of where we are now seems a long way ahead, given the results still to come. But as things stand, as I say, there hasn't been that public explosion of folk within the party demanding that Keir Starmer stand down.
Thank you, Chris. Right, let's get a look at the weather now. Ben is standing by. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Lewis. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Very mixed weather prospects as we head towards the weekend. There'll be some warm weather, some chilly weather, some wet weather and some sunny weather. And we've got a bit of all of that today, actually. The sun's shining there for a weather watcher in Cambridgeshire, but in County Down, more in the way of cloud. That cloud has been producing a little bit of rain across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland. We do have a weather front sitting just about here. Some of these showers across the north and the northeast of England have turned pretty heavy over the last couple of hours with some hail and some thunder. We could see some more of those, some sharp showers, parts of Wales into the Midlands. I think southern counties of England may see the best of the sunshine, particularly close to the English Channel coast. Pretty warm down to the south as well, 19 there in London, but on the cool side in the north of Scotland, 11 for Stornoway and for Lerwick. And then as we head through this evening and tonight, we still have our weak weather front just about here. Some clouds, some outbreaks of rain across parts of southern Scotland, northern England, some showers into the north of Scotland as well. And across the northern half of Scotland and Northern Ireland, some places could see a touch of frost to start tomorrow morning. Could also turn a little bit chilly across parts of East Anglia. There could be some mist and fog patches around here and there as well. Now we head into the start of the weekend, and this weather front really is pivotal in our weekend weather story. It'll bring some clouds, some outbreaks of rain, but it also separates some really quite warm air that'll hang on in the south for a while from some colder air that'll be digging in across the northern half of the UK. So here's our weather front, some clouds, some rain across parts of southeast Scotland, Lothian, the borders, parts of Dumfries and Galloway, northern England, northeast England, really having quite a wet and rather chilly feeling day. Further south, across parts of the Midlands, Wales, some hefty showers, a few showers also across the Channel Islands into the southwest of England, but across southern counties of England, also South Wales, 20 or 21 degrees, just 13 though in Belfast despite some sunshine, and starting to feel really quite chilly there in the north of Scotland. Now, through Saturday night into Sunday, this weather front moves a little bit further southwards. It will be weakening. Another weather front pushing into the north of Scotland, you'll notice. That'll bring some cloud. It'll bring some outbreaks of rain. There is some even colder air that'll be tucking in behind that weather front. So in Shetland on Sunday afternoon, temperatures probably only getting up to around 6 degrees Celsius. Even further south, despite some dry weather, temperatures lower at this stage, around 13 to 16, maybe 17 degrees. And then a quick look at what happens next week. Broadly speaking, it is a story of northerly winds, so that'll bring pulses of cold air southwards across the UK. It's never going to feel particularly warm as we head through next week, and never particularly unsettled either, with some showers or longer spells of rain at times. Lewis.
Ben, thank you for that. Right, that's all from today's BBC News at 1. The results are still coming in, though, so my colleague Laura Koonsberg will be here in a couple of minutes. Bye for now.